aftermath of that search warrant being executed?
No. The president was not briefed, was not aware of it. No one at the White House was given a heads up. No, that did not happen.
Or was it Dark Brandon? MAGA, was it Dark Brandon? There's so many layers of lovely on Twitter this morning. Texas Paul tweeted, Mitch McConnell really wishes Merrick Garland was sitting on the Supreme Court right about now.
It's true.
Okay. I'm just saying. I feel like I hear is it that the chickens of justice?
Bark, 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 bark.
Yeah. It feels like all the chickens are coming home to roost. Where would they want to live? They'd want to live with Aunt Joyce,
Aunt Joyce
in Alabama,
Yeah.
Don't you think? Okay, we need to stop the chickens and cue the jingle. All right. I've activated too many.
She's loving the chicken chorus, though.
She joins us. Hi, Joyce Vance and the Chickens of Justice. Good morning.
Good morning. I'm happy to be the new home for the Chickens of Justice. I think that's what I'm going to rename my chicken coop.
Yeah.
We were just saying I can watch MSNBC with the sound down now and get the same enjoyment of the holy faces on you and Barb McQuaid. So you have to tell us you talked a little trash to Barb because she was the one that was on the air when the news broke about the raid.
It wasn't really trash. Like, I was amazed. What do you do when you're on television and somebody whispers in your ear, they've just searched Mar-A-Lago? So all honor to Barb McQuaid, who is truly a scholar and a gentlewoman.
She kept her, you're like, where's your poker face, Barb? I mean, I have to say, even for you, like solid, calm professionals, this is a lot this week. I mean, just those of us that aren't lawyers are like, oh my God.
Right.
And now Scott Perry's phone. I mean, talk to us about, I don't even know where to start with the legal significance of this week, but go ahead.
So maybe one way of looking at it, this is probably the most boring way, but you know me, I'm boring.
Yeah, that's what we love about you.
Is that today is 89 days before the midterm election.
Mm-hmm.
Mar-a-Lago was searched 91 days before the midterm election. And DOJ notoriously tries to go dark on politically complicated investigations at a period of time sufficiently far enough out from an election to avoid any allegation that they're influencing the election. You know, the ghost of Jim Comey sort of lingers over that whole thing.
I'm glad
So
you
it
got to
makes
him
sense
before I
that-
did. Yes.
Yeah,
Okay. Uh-huh.
early. If DOJ had stuff to do, it makes sense that we would see it happening this week.
Mm-hmm.
And so now they've got 90 days to quietly sort through what they obtained at Mar-a-Lago. We have no idea what that is, and figure out. Let's just put this on the table early. Two things could be going on at Mar-a-Lago, assuming the reporting is correct that this is about national security classified papers. One is there could be a criminal investigation going on. These cases are rarely prosecuted, but there are some factors here that suggest that there'd be good reason to investigate and consider that. Possibly more importantly are the national security implications. And whenever you have a spill of classified evidence, you got to figure out what's involved in the spill and whether or not there is risk to national security. So, we've got a former president who notoriously sat at dinner at Mar-a-Lago and sort of crowdsourced advice on how to handle a Korean missile launch. There's no telling what he would do with papers. The important thing is that government needs to understand what's happened and what the risks are.
The one thing we brought up is that, of course, Kash Patel said, he declassified this already. Even though it's not in the paperwork, of course. He's just like, I just heard him say it. How does that stand up legally?
Yeah, so there's a whole lot here, and we don't know all of the answers. Could Trump have declassified everything he took to Mar-a-Lago? Sure, he could have. But it's not, you don't just get to wave a magic wand and say declassified. There's actually some formalistic stuff that has to go along with that to make sure that it happens. And we just don't know the answer. Did Trump declassify everything that was in his possession? Maybe Joe Biden could turn around and reclassify it. I mean, I think that that's just silly. And if the argument that you're making at this point is it was all declassified, well, why not just say that to the government when it shows up on your doorstep in Mar-a-Lago? We know that at least since June, there have been negotiations going on to get some materials back, probably a lot earlier, to be honest. So if it was just that simple, and if Trump was able to establish that the materials were declassified, DOJ would never have been able to get the probable cause to go in with a search warrant.
You got there ahead of me. It's almost like you have a fancy law degree and I don't. Okay. I was just going to say that, so you can't say abracadabra or Beetlejuice.
You do not need a law degree to understand this stuff. And something I regret that we do as lawyers is mystify it and use funky language.
Yeah.
You know, this is Americana. We should all understand how this stuff works, and you obviously do.
Well, you said it on Twitter. Probable cause is more than just suspicion. It means a reasonable person reviewing the evidence would conclude a crime has been committed, and there's good reason to believe evidence or fruits of it will be recovered from the place to be searched. And I assume the bar for not just a lawyer, but a former president's home has got to be really high.
Well, I think it was pretty high. Look, that bar is something that DOJ lawyers take seriously, because, you know, what happens if you don't take it seriously is that you have the professional embarrassment of being in a federal district judge's chambers or a magistrate judge's chambers and having them tell you, hey, your warrant is thin. There's not enough here for me to sign off on. And no prosecutor wants to have that happen. It diminishes your credibility. So we used to, when I was at DOJ, work very hard to bolster the credibility of our search warrants. In this case, there is no doubt that this search warrant affidavit was fly-specced by the Deputy Attorney General Lisa Monaco, who's looked at a lot of search warrant affidavits during her career. And I'm 105% certain that Merrick Garland himself would have signed off on this one before it went to an independent federal judge who would have looked at it with extraordinary care before he or she put their name on the search warrant.